Welcome to episode number 4 of First Down Focus. My name is Darrien Mogel, your host, and today I will be joined with Brett Wynona. How you doing today, brother?
What's going on, Darren? How you doing, brother? Hanging in there, man.
All right, so I want to get into right away into like the biggest topic so far of the offseason
Let's do
and
it.
the biggest trade this offseason, and that is Deebo Samuel to the Commanders.
hmm
So my question for you is, how much does this truly affect their Super Bowl odds, and how much does this affect Jaden Daniels as a quarterback?
So those two topics, those two questions are completely different answers. So I got the Washington Commanders with Deebo Samuel. I think it's great for Jaden Daniels as a young quarterback, but it's not going to help their defense. So I have Washington Commanders with a third worst rush defense in the NFL and the fourth best pass defense in the NFL. You got
Mm-hmm.
2,337 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns, 3,492 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So they're pretty good against the pass, but they're horrible against the run. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to win a championship, you gotta play defense. Defense wins championships,
Sure.
right? So if they want to win a championship, they're going to have to do something on defense. Deebo Samuel's not going to help them on defense. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think as a young quarterback, as a sophomore quarterback, we saw what happened with CJ Stroud, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he could hit some bumps. Who knows? I mean, he's got the same coaches, so who knows? I think he's a great player. I think he's going to help. I think Debo's going to help him a lot. But at the same time, their championship odds all depends on how they play on defense.
For sure. No, yeah, I had something similar. In my opinion, this move will help Jaden Daniels. It'll take some pressure off him. We'll have another weapon on offense. So he's not
Yep.
going to have to do as much just because he has that safety blanket now in Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin. But
Right.
I agree with what you said. Like this isn't going to help their defense. This isn't going to help.
Mhm.
To me, the Washington Commanders last season, sure they made it to NFC Championship game, but they had a
Mhm.
lot of close games, a lot of miracles at the end of the games. They're like 2 or 3 plays away from being 10-7 and might not even
Right.
make the playoffs at
Right.
that
Right.
point last year. So to me,
Exactly.
they're just a team that like got hot at the right time in the playoffs and played
Yep.
injury riddled Lions, put it on them
hmm
pretty good, and then
Yep.
if you remember, they played the Buccaneers and they won on a game-winning field goal that hit off an upright. So if that
Right.
bounces the
Right.
wrong way off an upright, you never know what happens in
And
overtime.
the
So
scores of those games, from what I remember, the scores of those games are really high too. It's not like
yeah,
they're not beating teams with their defense. You know what I mean? Like they're
no,
beating with Jaden Daniels is winning them
mm-hmm.
football games.
Yeah, like they had those 4 picks as the Lions, but look at all those throws. Those are all horrible throws. It's not like
Yeah.
they jumped routes or anything. Those are just bad throws by Jared Goff, and then the one by I think Jameson Williams threw a pick too that game.
Yeah. If I could just add two more things real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Debo played 15 of 16 games last year. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows that Deebo Samuel's a stud. He's a stud. He's a stud. Everybody thinks of him as a stud, right? 81 targets, 51 catches, 670 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
I don't know from me personally as a fantasy guy, Deebo took a big dip in
Mm-hmm.
production, and it didn't have to do with health because he played 15 out of the 16 games. So
Mm-hmm.
he only missed one game, right? Another thing on the opposite side of the spectrum is Deebo is I don't know where I heard it from, but I'm pretty sure he's like top one or top two in yards after the catch and yards off of screen passes. So
Yeah.
a good thing for a young quarterback is getting the ball out of your hand fast
Mm-hmm.
and letting the guys do their thing. And I know Deebo. Everybody knows Deebo's good for that. So it's just like I said, it's just a matter of I think the defense is going to win them the championship if they make it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's something I had too. I have him as listed as a good player, not a great player. He was once a great
Mm-hmm.
player back
Yeah.
in 2021 or 2022, whatever that was. And
Right.
he's a great gadget guy that can take the pressure off Jaden Daniels, but I
Mm-hmm.
just don't see this. I think this is the start in the right direction to becoming a
Mm-hmm.
championship type of team. But you need to
Right.
now you added a weapon on offense. Now go out there and solidify that defense if you want to make any sort of run to a Super Bowl.
Right.
All right, let's go on to topic number 2, post combine. Post combine. I want to hear if you guys. I mean, I'm an Eagles guy. I know you're wearing an Eagles sweater right now. You're an Eagles guy. I know you have a couple of a couple other teams you like too, like the Panthers. But I know at
Mm-hmm.
heart you live near Philly. So Post combine, who are a few guys that you believe the Eagles should be targeting in this draft? Could be early, could be late. Just a few guys that you think they could fit this
So
scheme.
the Eagles specifically, I think it's all going to depend on who leaves in free agency. So we
Right.
have we have we got Sweat, Williams, and Bond are all leaving in free
Mm-hmm.
agency, or they're more likely to leave because they got to get paid, right? We can't pay all
Mm-hmm.
of them. So let's just hypothetically say we keep Bond and we keep Sweat. Williams is gone. So then I
Mm-hmm.
think our 32nd overall pick has to be a defensive tackle. So I think our whoever leaves in free agency is going to be where we go. I think that's just my personal opinion. If we keep Sweat and Williams, we have to go linebacker for Bond. If we keep Williams and Bond, we have to go defensive end for Sweat. So I think our draft is going to be dictated on our free agency and who we sign and who we don't sign.
Okay. No, yeah, we actually are a little bit on different sides here. To me, pick number 32, like the way Howie drafts, I think that's going to most likely get traded, but I still think we're going to have an early pick in the second round because I can see that getting traded for somebody like just say like the Raiders or the Saints, someone that might need
Yeah,
a quarterback. And you really know like Jalen Milrow, Jackson Dart might be there. I think Jackson Dart's going to go a little bit earlier.
yeah,
But
yeah. I agree.
you have a few guys sitting right around that early second round pick that if you're a Raiders, a Giants, a Saints, someone that might want quarterback help, I think that pick 32
Mm-hmm.
is going to go. But when I'm looking at it, I think there's a few decent offensive tackles that I like to try to start in drafting the
Mm-hmm.
replacement for Lane Johnson. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think Lane Johnson, he's definitely playing next season, but I don't know how much longer he truly has. Like it really could be any season now that he's just like, all right, like I had enough. He's a Hall of Fame tackle. He's
Yeah.
done a lot in his career, won 2 Super Bowls. So
Yep.
I like Josh Simmons out of Ohio State to go
Okay.
early in that second round, late first round.
Mm-hmm.
That's just someone I'm looking at. I have a few other guys that are later in the draft that I really like, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody towards the back end of the draft that you might be a sleeper
I had so sleepers. It's hard. It's so hard to determine.
for
Like
sure?
you go based off what the team needs,
Mm-hmm.
and the Eagles need defense, or they need to replace the defensive stars that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So back end of the draft, you could see them drafting. I can see them drafting another running back late.
Mm-hmm.
I can see them drafting a couple linebackers late, a couple safeties late. Like it all, like we're always sticking to the same position. But two things you said trading out. I did have that written down. I do think that
Yeah.
there's a good chance of us trading out. And then I had Donovan Jackson, the tackle out of Ohio State,
Okay.
4.22, or I'm sorry, 6'4", 315. He went from guard to tackle halfway through the year because the tackle got hurt, and he's a star. I mean, the dude knows how to play
Yeah, for
tackle.
sure.
I think he was, from what I read, he was a tackle in high school and then got moved to
Mm-hmm.
guard because obviously Ohio State just recruits good guys. So
Yeah,
when they moved him to guard and he got hurt, the tackle got hurt. He moved to tackle. He just was just a natural. So I
for
think
sure.
trading out and Donovan Jackson was the one that I had saw going late first, early second.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't trade out, but I agree. I do think us trading out, and then one more guy I had. Was Malachi Starks. I hear everybody talking about Malachi
Okay.
Starks just because he's a Georgia guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Georgia North, Georgia North. You know what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
the Philadelphia Bulldogs. So I can see Howie going for another Georgia defensive guy. He's safety out of Georgia, 6'1", 205. And he's a gazelle, dude. He is just, if you watch his tape, the dude is just a
Yeah.
gazelle. He can
Yeah.
cover 90% of the field. So yeah, so that's what I got.
For sure. Yeah, and Donovan Jackson is like I see him right around there. In one of my other videos when I was trying to rebuild the Bears and what they have to do to become, competitive in the playoffs or and even make a
Mhm.
run. I had Donovan Jackson as their early. I think they have like the 40th pick or something in the second
Yeah.
round, so it's like
Yep.
the eighth pick in the second round. I had them taking Donovan Jackson there, so that definitely checks out for right around that spot, and I really think he is a great guard slash tackle.
Yeah.
Um, so someone that I have a few guys because I really think the Eagles also in the later rounds, say between 3 and 5, they have 3 5th-round picks, a fourth and a third. Um, I'm looking at tight end options because Goddard is under contract for 1 more year. Next
Mm-hmm.
year it could be his last year in Philly. No one really knows. But
Yeah.
I'm always looking, just like when Ertz got older, we drafted Goddard, athletic tight end, guy that can run
Mm-hmm.
routes, not heavy on the blocking, But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to add a blocker, someone that can do both, I really like Gunnar Helm. He's going projected to go right in the fourth round out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that can block and can run routes and has the hands to be a route runner.
Yeah.
But obviously, as a Clemson guy, I have to throw out Jink Brenningstool, projected to go in the fourth and fifth round. If we can get
Yeah.
him in the
There you
fifth
go.
round, he
Yeah.
is a skinnier guy that's a taller. He's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be a huge blocker. He can lay a
No.
few blocks, but he's going to be a guy that can still run routes and be very similar to a Dallas Goedert if you want to try to replace him after
Right.
next season. So when I'm looking at, I have a few times. I even have Mason Taylor too, another guy that can run routes pretty good out of LSU.
I was gonna say I
Um,
like the two guys I saw. I saw Harold Fanning dipped in his for
mm-hmm.
his combine stock. He dipped. I don't know. I mean, he's probably one of the better guys in the class, but Mason
Yeah,
Taylor's really good. Who's the guy out of Oregon? Uh,
Ferguson.
Ferguson, Terrence
Mm-hmm.
Ferguson. That dude can play
Yeah,
football.
he can
Um,
fly
I'm,
too.
yeah, he can. So I don't know. Like I do like to replace Dallas Goddard, but if we were going to get somebody that can replace what Dallas Goddard does, we might have to do it a little bit earlier. But
Yeah,
again, if he's leaving, if Goddard's leaving next year, it's a good draft pick. Even if we
yeah,
take
for
like
sure.
say we take Mason Taylor in like the third fourth round, and he ends up being our starting tight end in 2 3 years, it's a good
Yeah, for
pick.
sure. And then one last spot that I want to cover for the Eagles, the running back options. No one really knows yet what's going to go on with Kenny Gainwell. Right now, he's
Mm-hmm.
our number two option. Are we signing him back? Is he going to walk in
Mm-hmm.
free agency? Do you have anybody? I don't know if you've written anybody down for any running back options later in the draft. If you want to try to replace your number
I
two guy.
I you know me from fantasy, so I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of guys that I think will go later that are that would be really good with the accent to Saquon Barkley, right?
For sure.
Obviously, we got him for another 2 years. Dear Lord, please keep him healthy for the next 2 years, right? I think Barkley can do it all. Like Barkley's
Mm-hmm.
just obviously he got paid the most in NFL history. He can do it all. Run, block, catch, all of it. I
Mm-hmm.
think if we were to add an accent running back to him, it would need to be a pass catching 4.40 time player, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love Brashad Smith out of
That's exactly
SMU.
what I thought you were going to say. After you said someone that can
Brashad
run, that's what I thought.
Brashad Smith ran. I don't. I didn't have written down what he ran, but I know he ran in the 4.4s
Yeah.
and 5'10", 200 pounds. The dude can catch the football, right?
Mm-hmm.
He unbelievable. But I think um, Beshul Tootin, I think he's going to go way early because of his combine.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one other name. Um, I forget how to pronounce his first name. Jaquin Allen is what it was.
Okay.
Jaquin Allen out of where is he? Is he not Clemson? I know he's an orange team. I forget
Yeah.
what it is.
It might be like Syracuse or something. I'm not really sure
Syracuse.
though.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
LaQuinn Allen out of Syracuse. He's a little bigger. Like he's
Okay.
more tall and lanky. I think he's like 6 foot, like 190. So he's taller and lanky. The BMI isn't there for three down back purposes, but the dude had
Yeah.
like 8 some catches last year, and I was like, holy mother Moses. Um, so we would need a pass catching back because then Jalen Hurts is known to hold the football, right? So
For sure.
drop back, nothing's there, nothing's there, nothing there. He's running and he's taking sacks. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to have the ability to have when Saquon's not on the field, dump it off to a running back who can make
Mm-hmm.
plays himself. So I think a late round running back like Brashad Smith, I would love if we drafted Brashad Smith. Would love it. LaQuinn Allen, just somebody who can pass catch. Doesn't really need to pass block. Doesn't have to be the biggest
Mm-hmm.
back. But yeah, so those are the two guys that I had on my board.
Okay. Yeah, I had a few late round running backs. I didn't really do a pass catching type of running back, but I think someone that, God forbid, something does happen to Saquon Barkley, because we know that in New York he had injury history. Now that could be because their line just stank and he didn't get a lot of protection, so he's
Right.
taking hits more often in New York than he is in Philly. But guys that could potentially step in if something happens to a Barkley and that can produce right away. And I really like Raheem Sanders. He's projected to go in the fourth round out of
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina. Big, slippery
Rocket
back.
Sanders.
Yes, Rocket Sanders. Yes, I really like him in that fourth round range, fourth or fifth, because we like I said, we got we got three fifth round picks, so I can
Right.
definitely see how he may be packaging two of those picks and trying to move up a little bit for if they have someone on their radar. And another guy, Damian Martinez out of Miami, he's projected to go right around that fifth round range, and with those three fifth
Mm-hmm.
round picks, those are guys that aren't necessarily pass catchers, but they are bigger backs that can, they can be a first and second down back if
Yeah.
something does happen with
Mm-hmm.
Saquon over this next 2-3 years. I mean, hopefully he's
Yeah.
healthy every single game, but we've seen it with CMC, had monster seasons, and then, he got hurt a couple times last year. So,
Yeah. If we're talking backs that can not replace, but that can step in for that one, two,
mhm,
first and second down role, Donovan Edwards out of Michigan.
that's my third guy I
He,
had down.
yeah, dude, Donovan Edwards. I don't even remember what he ran. He ran pretty fast for a bigger dude. Yeah, 4.4
Yeah.
40. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the speed. Just a first and second down back. I mean, yeah, I mean, hell of a player.
Yeah, I saw he was going fifth to sixth rounds. I know Howie doesn't have any
Mhm.
sixth or sevenths, but I'm sure that's going to change. He loves drafting
Yeah,
sixth, seventh round guys, so I'm sure
yeah.
it's gonna something's gonna trade that they're probably going to get a pick or two late in that draft. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had him going sixth round. But all
Definitely.
right, let's move on to the next topic here, and this one's one that you didn't know about. This is going to be a little bit of a game show.
Oh
I have a
boy.
little bit of a game show.
Okay.
So since you're my fantasy football expert, so to say, been doing it for a long time, and you love your running backs,
I
expert,
just
so to
won
say.
championships. That's all I
Yeah,
do.
for sure. But so my question, I have 10 guys on here. You cannot duplicate it, so there's going to be guys that could have been on here twice, but I took them off. So it's each running back on here is only on here once. Can you name me the top 10 fantasy football game performances of the 2024 NFL season by a running back? So this
Oh,
is,
geez.
I'll let you know, number 10 on here. The lowest score is 32.5 points in a game. So all the ones above it are going to be higher than 32 points in a fantasy game. This is a PPR format.
Okay, so this is all the running backs that were number one, the top 10 number one scores, but they did so like Barkley was it number like three or four times. So
But
Barkley's only
Bart,
on there.
yes, he's the only one that scored above 32.5 multiple times, and he actually did it 5 times.
Okay.
And
Christ.
he's number one. He's at week number 12. He had 46.2 against the Rams.
All
So
right,
he's
so
at
I'm
number
just gonna
one now.
I'm just gonna rally them off, and then we'll see where we go.
Sure. Yep.
All right, so Barkley one.
Yep.
Um, on my list, I'd have to say maybe A Chain was one.
No, he just missed the
No.
list. I think he was number 11. Yeah,
Uh,
it's gonna be tougher than you think. There's one guy on here that you really gotta go in your bag for. I'll
Derek.
give you Derrick Henry. Yep, he was number 6. He had 35.9 against the Bills in week number 4.
Joe Mixon.
Mixon was number 7. He had 35.3 against the Cowboys in week 11.
Um, is Bucky Erd on that list?
He is not on this list.
No. Okay. Um,
I think he had like 31 game, but he just missed the list.
let me get the two obvious ones out of the way. I don't think Bijan was one, but Bijan.
Bijan's not on here.
Yeah. Jameer Gibbs has to be.
Gibbs is number 2, and he just got on. He actually in week 18, which a lot of fantasy seasons were over. Week 18 had 46 against the Vikings. He didn't get above 32 the rest of the season.
Jesus. All right. Let's go. I don't think Brees Hall was one
Nope,
because he didn't.
not on here.
Brees Hall didn't play that well. Josh Jacobs.
Nope, just missed it. A
Damn.
lot of these guys had right around 30. There's one guy that you really got to go in your bag for, and all the other ones should be their starting running
Um,
backs. Besides one other one's two guys.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor's number 4. Week 16, he had 39.8 against the Titans.
Kyren Williams.
Nope, not on here.
What?
You need
For,
3,
the, for, the,
5.
for everybody listening, I hate Kyren Williams. um, sheesh. Chase Brown, was Chase Brown on that list?
Nope, he's not on.
Wow.
I think he did have a game where he had like 29 or 30, but he did not make it on here.
Let's go with the old reliable Alvin Kamara.
Yep, number 3. Week number 2, he had 44 against the Cowboys.
All right, so who do I have? What numbers do I have?
So you got Number 1, Saquon Barkley. 2, Jameer Gibbs. 3, Alvin Kamara. 4, Jonathan Taylor. And then you don't have 5 yet, but you have 6, Derrick Henry. 7, Joe Mixon. And then you need 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10 are the toughest ones.
Okay, so I have 5, 8, 9, and 10. Okay,
Yep.
I feel like 5 should be pretty obvious.
You actually, 2 guys on here both are from the same team. There's 2 guys from the same team on this list yet that you have not said. Neither
David
guy
Montgomery. Either guy I've said yet. Okay.
You have not said.
James Conner.
Nope, not on here.
Damn. Did I say Kenneth Walker yet?
Nope. He's number 9. He had 33.6 against the Lions.
Oh, then it has to be Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet.
Yep, Charbonnet's number 5. He had 38.3 against the Cardinals. 8 and 10. Number 8's the hardest one. Like, you got to go in your bag for number 8. But number 10 is definitely...
Tony Pollard played really well this year.
He did not make this list, though.
Oh, shit.
Didn't play good enough.
J.K.
Nope. Number 10 is a starter, though. So number 10 you should be able to get. Number 8 is... I'll let you know number 8's a third-string running back. That slipped onto this list.
Third string.
Why
is he a starter? Oh, Sean Tucker, Tampa Bay.
Sean Tucker. There it is. Week number 6, he had 34.2 against the Saints.
Yep. Yeah. What about Aaron Jones?
Not on here.
Damn.
I'll give you 2 more guesses. If you don't get in 2 guesses, I'll give you a hint.
All right. Who played really well this year? What teams am I missing?
Do you want the
Giants?
What week he did it?
Tyrone Tracy didn't know. Dallas. Rico Dowdle, no. Tampa Bay. Rashad White, no. Bucky, no. New Orleans Saints. Kamara got him. Panthers. I said Chuba Hubbard, right? Chuba didn't do that well. I mean, he played well.
10.
Is he really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Eliminate it.
Yeah, right.
He
played really well. He played well early. What did he have?
Week 16, he had 32.5. He was the last guy on the list against the Arizona Cardinals. That's crazy to think, though, that Saquon could have been on this list 4 other times. He had 32.9, 33.2, 33.6, and 33.8. And then
Jesus.
46.2 week 12.
And for all the people listening, that is why he is the highest paid running back in NFL history.
Yes, for sure. Could have been on this list 5 times. Everyone else only able to get on it once.
Yep.
Jameer Gibbs is the closest. I think he had like 32.3 or something, just missing the list twice. But all right. Now we had a little bit of fun. I did not make my tiers list. This is going to be more of me reacting to your tiers list. But I want to hear your running back tiers list for the next season, or I don't know if you did it for this season or next season. However you want to tier, you can explain it. It's all you.
Okay, so I did next season, so the season of 2025-2026. I did redraft and I did dynasty. Which one would you like to hear?
Let's go redraft. I feel like a lot of the listeners are probably going to be from redraft type of leagues. Dynasty, I feel like it's more like a little bit complex.
So I think there's only one guy who can break into tier 1, and that's because we just talked about it. Mm-hmm. There's only 2, if maybe 3 guys in tier 1. I got Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, and if he can stay healthy, Saquon Barkley. That's it. That's tier 1. Like, those guys, you know for a fact they're going to score 20-plus points every single game. They catch the football. They're on the field. They should at least be on the field 80% of the time. And then tier 2, I got Devon. Tier 2 is pretty big. I got Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, and Kenneth Walker. So those guys, I feel Genty and Hampton are obviously question marks, but they should both be drafted in the first round. They have first-round draft capital. They're both massive human beings. They can both tote rock. They've clearly shown that they can carry the football, carry a load in college. Jonathan Taylor, obvious. I mean, he's old, reliable. But if he's on the field, he's scoring you 20. E-Chain, I'm assuming on this list that Tua is playing in the game. So A Chain scores 20 when Tua plays. When Tua doesn't play, he's not in your lineup because
Yeah.
that's just the offense. Um, Bucky Irving, if Bucky Irving, he took the job clearly last year. He's getting drafted in the second round in mock drafts for
Yeah.
dynasty. I'm sorry, in redraft. Um, if Bucky Irving can play 70 to 80% of the time, he's going to score. He's going to be he could be up next year. Could be in tier one. Like he could
Yeah.
realistically be scoring 25, 30 points a game. Brees Hall, if the Jets, this is the most optimistic. This is assuming every offense can figure it out, right? So if the Jets can figure it out on offense,
Yeah.
no Aaron Rodgers anymore. If they can figure it out, Brees Hall he's a top 10 guy. I mean, he always will be. He's a 4.39 40 at 6 foot, like 220 pounds. Like he's huge. There's no reason why he shouldn't get the ball 80% of the time. I mean, I understand you got Braylon Allen. I understand you have Braylon Allen in there, and they drafted him pretty high relative. But I do think Brees Hall is significantly better than Braylon Allen. Josh Jacobs showed that he's still a workhorse back at 27. If they can figure it out, we'll talk about the Packers later. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if Josh Jacobs can continue to play the way he's playing and they can figure it out on the defensive side, they're going to be scary.
Yeah.
And Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's always he's always going to be right at the top of that list. When he's on the field, he's scoring you 20, 30 points.
Yeah.
Tier 3 is my is tier 3. I've determined is the gray area. Is like the guys that I want to play or I want to draft in dynasty, but not in redraft.
Okay.
So Kyren Williams, I never draft him, and I will never draft Kyren Williams. Shout out to Kyle Maloney, never drafting him. James Cook, I think, is just so hit or miss. Like if the offense is playing well and Josh Allen's playing well, then he's playing well. But if not, then it's like, ooh, like he's tough to. But at the same time, he scores. He's known to score 30 points with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Chase Brown is the
Okay.
biggest question mark. I think Chase Brown can jump into that tier 2 of guys if he carries a load. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
big enough. He's 5'10", 210, ran a subpar or sub 440. Um, if he can play 60 to 80% of the time, he's shown that he can. If he
Yeah.
can play between 60 to 80% of the time, he's going to be a workhorse. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he can catch the football, he can block, he can do everything a workhorse back can do. It's just a matter of if the Bengals draft another running back. If the Bengals draft
Yeah.
another running back in the first 3 rounds, Chase Brown's not going to be as valuable as he was last year because they didn't have anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 2 guys are question marks who I think in Dynasty are significantly higher than tier 3 are Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Those guys are on. They can both tote the rock. They can both. Um, they can both. They can both be 3 down backs. I
Yeah.
think Quinshon Judkins is a little bit. He's obviously bigger and he's obviously faster than. Or I'm sorry, he's not faster than, but with the size involved, he's quicker at his size. So
Yeah.
Travion Henderson's faster, straight line speed, but Judkins is also 2 inches taller and 15, 20 pounds heavier.
Mm-hmm.
So Judkins can definitely carry a load in the NFL. Travion Henderson would be a monster. So with someone, I was talking to my brother, was talking to Trey about this. Um, Travion Henderson would be a stud behind somebody like Brian Robinson or
Yeah.
somebody like Derrick Henry, someone that can carry the load. And then you put this guy in, and he's a fresh, like a David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs type role. You
Yep.
could Travion Henderson could be a Jahmyr Gibbs type player.
Uh-huh.
So I can realistically say in 3 years that Travion Henderson is a tier 1 guy because he's that
Yeah.
good. The dude can run fast as shit. Excuse my language. Um, and he can just move. He can catch the football too. Good grief. Tier 4, a couple guys that I haven't named in the past were probably in tier 1 and tier 2. Got Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, and Alvin Kamara. So this is tier 4 for redraft. So obviously,
Yeah.
dynasty, these guys aren't going to be as valuable because they're older. Um,
Hmm.
if Christian McCaffrey can stay on the field, he's tier one. I mean, he scores 40 points a game,
Yeah.
but he hasn't been on the field. So you have to kind of drop him down. You have to lift up the guys that have been on the field and have proven that they can play football. Derrick Henry remains on the field, but again, it's redraft. I can see me personally. I don't like Derrick Henry because of his play style. You know me,
Hmm.
like I'm a big like we talked about earlier. I'm a big running back guy.
Hmm.
Derrick Henry doesn't catch the football, and in PPR fantasy, you get if you draft a guy like Bucky Irving over a guy like Derrick Henry, it makes more sense just because he's getting I don't know 6 to 8 targets a game.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry doesn't see those targets. Chuba Hubbard, we talked about him. He played really well this year. Uh, Jonathan Brooks just tore his ACL again. They just extended Chuba Hubbard last year, right? I'm pretty sure. Um,
So I know he got some sort of contract
yeah,
extension.
yeah, he got a contract this past year.
Hmm.
And Chuba Hubbard clearly showed that he can do it. Um,
Hmm.
that's another team that I would like to look at deeper, like deep dive into the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, I'm a semi Panthers fan. I like Bryce Love. I haven't liked him since Cam left, but that's just my personal opinion. But Chuba Hubbard can definitely get it done and can do it. I mean, he scored. He was number one back there. He was on your list for number
Hmm.
one points scored, right? So clearly he got the job done. Joe Mixon kind of faded away as the playoffs came around. I think they tried so hard to lean on C.J. Stroud when they got later into the season and on into the
Yeah.
playoffs. I think they tried to get him going, and it just didn't work. I think they should have leaned on Joe Mixon because in the first 5 weeks he had I don't even know, he had 30 points a game for the first 5 weeks of the season.
Hmm.
Um, David Montgomery's a guy that is on the field. He's going to score 20 points. They're going to give him the ball 20 times a game. Dan Campbell loves David Montgomery as much as everybody else loves Jahmyr Gibbs. For some reason, Jahmyr Gibbs will never take that role unless David Montgomery's hurt. And when David
Yeah.
Montgomery's on the field, he's getting the football. He's reliable. PPR, you can say 12 to 15 point guy every he's an above average flex every single week. And then Alvin Kamara, when Alvin Kamara's on the field and David Carr's on the field, 40 points. Like it's he's seeing
Yeah.
12 targets a game. You know what I mean? Even if his rushing numbers aren't there, let's just say he's got 12 carries for 40 yards, but then he's got 10 catches for 102. It's like that in itself is a value. Again, in Dynasty, I have him significantly lower because of his age. Um,
Hmm.
but guys that are willing to win now for Dynasty are probably value him a lot higher. Um, like myself, because I'm always in the championship.
Uh huh. I'm sure you
um,
are.
but that's my list. That's my list. If you want me to run over it
Okay.
again, I can. But that's what I got.
It, it's all good. So you have Genty and Hampton both in tier number two. Do you have a destination that you believe that they're going to land to make them a tier two guy? Because I mean, I can see either one possibly. Like I can see the Saints maybe pulling a trigger early on to try to find Kamara's replacement, but then you're not getting as many carries.
Mm-hmm.
In redraft, I mean, I would definitely have to see where they land. Um, like Genty, I know has been rumored around the Cowboys a lot. I've seen stuff around the Steelers, Broncos. Like I've seen a few teams that he could potentially be the starter on and be a tier two guy. But do you
Yeah.
have like landing spots for Genty and Hampton, and then Henderson and Judkins that you think they're going to go?
Specifically with those two, Genty and Hampton,
Mm-hmm.
they're a lock first round guys.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't matter a lot. Like you're saying, if they go to a team like, or it depends on where they go, is going to lock them into that tier two.
Yeah.
So you got the four teams that I can find both of them going to and being locks as tier two. Dallas, either of them. These are for both guys. Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, and LA Chargers. Those
Okay.
four teams are like in need of a running back and in need of a stud running back that can handle the load, and these two guys can do that. So if either of them go, I've also seen, again, shout out to Kyle. I saw Genty going to the Raiders
Okay.
at 6.
Damn.
If Genty goes to the Raiders at 6, I will be a little bit hesitant. I'm not going to lie. I have them like 1A, 1B, Genty and Hampton. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan. I've been a big fan of Omari and Hampton since they were still playing college football, like before the draft months ago. So Hampton came out and shined in the combine. If Genty goes to the Raiders and let's just say Hampton goes somewhere like at the 112 to Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
personally, there's an argument to be had that Hampton's over Genty just because landing
For
spot.
sure. Yeah.
Hampton can do everything. We were talking about Barkley doing everything. I realistically think
Mm-hmm.
that Omarion Hampton is a closer comp or a closer comp to Saquon Barkley than any other running back we've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
He can catch the ball. He can run. He can block. The dude can pass pro realistically better than anybody I watched on film. So if those two are guaranteed locks in the first, if you get Genty to the Cowboys and Hampton to the Raiders, or I'm sorry, the Vikings, then you got
Mm-hmm.
Genty over Hampton. But it all depends on landing spot. Like I said, if I got them 1A, 1B,
Yeah.
if both go into teams that are ready to win now and have great offensive lines, then you got Genty over Hampton. But I do think that there's only those four teams that I mentioned are going to be the two that take it
Okay.
back.
I personally would love if Gentry went to the Raiders, just because I feel like then the Raiders might try to trade up and get that 32nd pick that I was talking about earlier, just because they might
True.
need a quarterback before the other
Yeah.
teams come back around. But
Yeah. Yeah.
even, even then though, CMC surprised me in tier number 4 of your list. CMC and Henry both surprised me. Hubbard, Kamara, David Montgomery, I'm fine with them all being in tier number 4. But CMC to me, like even if I'm assuming everyone's healthy and he sat out a lot last season,
Right.
I know that offense took a step back losing Deebo and then Ayuk coming back from an ACL tear. So I understand that offense might take a step back. But still, I mean, I think the offensive line of the Niners is still going to be good. I'm not going to say great, but I think they're still going to be a good offensive line. And I think CMC, with Brock Purdy mainly being the quarterback, Purdy's known for a more efficient guy. I think he's going to get his
Hmm.
receiving yards out of the backfield. He's not really a deep ball type of thrower. He's more
Right.
of a
Right.
check down, game manager type of guy. So I'm assuming CMC is healthy. I probably would have him right in that tier 2. Tier 1, I
If
agree. Give
I
Saquon Barkley.
if CMC can get is 100% healthy, then he's 100%
Mm-hmm.
in the tier 2 for sure. The only thing is he has what does he have? He's got Achilles tendonitis.
Yeah, it was
I
something
mean, if
weird
you
with
let's just
the
hypothetically
ligaments and
say,
calves.
yeah, let's just hypothetically say you put him in tier 2, right, and you draft
Mm-hmm.
him in the third round as your number one back. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
hypothetically say you go wide receiver, running back at CMC, and he blows an Achilles. You're at your third round back. So that's why I have him so low. I do think that he is a tier 2 talent, but you have to look at the totality of the circumstances and say if he if he doesn't play,
Yeah,
you're realistically screwed.
yeah, for sure.
It's the only reason I have him
And
so low. Derrick Henry,
yeah,
I feel like you can bump him up a little bit because he's so reliable. He's always on the field.
mm-hmm.
But CMC, I can't find myself to bump him up past guys like Kyron Williams, James Cook, and Chase Brown. It's just
Okay.
they're on the field and they're young and they're playing and they're catching the football and they're doing all the good stuff that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason. That's my justification for McCaffrey.
For sure. And to be quite honest, if I can get CMC in the third round or fourth round redraft league, I'll be ecstatic about that. So
Yeah, you can,
if I can
hey,
get if I
you
can
can have
stack up,
them. You can
oh
have
yeah,
them.
I mean, I'll definitely take him in the third or fourth. But all right, let's go on to the final topic. We got the best bet segment. So
Woo!
on my channel, I always like I always like throwing in the best bet segment. It's been a little tough just because it's the off season. You got to go with all futures. You can
Mhm.
for both college football and NFL. I've already said my Super Bowl projection on other podcasts that I've done. I
Mhm.
always love doing a favorite and a long shot. Someone you put your hard earned money on somebody, like a favorite. Who do I believe is going to lead the league and make a Super Bowl, and who's someone that might be like a Washington Commanders, where if you put even $25 on them in the off season last year and you made it to NFC Championship game, you were probably shitting bricks a little bit because you might have won a decent payday. But
Yeah, yeah.
who's your favorite? Who's maybe your Super Bowl matchup, and who's a long shot that people aren't really talking about? You think can make it?
My favorite,
I'm
it's the
guessing it's the
birds. I
Eagles.
mean, it's got to be the birds. So yesterday I looked this up. They're at plus 600. They're the favorite to
Hmm.
win. Obviously, I mean they have the best team. If we can figure it out on the defensive side of the ball, I think why don't we make it back? I mean, there's no reason to say that we don't.
Hmm.
It's I think everybody's in a mutual agreement that Eagles are going to make it back to the Super Bowl. Um, in terms of matchup, I mean, it's going to be someone. It's going to be Chiefs, Bills, Ravens. I mean,
Yeah.
there's only those three teams that are going to make it. I really want to see Josh Allen make it to a Super Bowl. I really want to see the Bills finally get over that hump and beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I think if hypothetically the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl and we lose to Josh Allen, I would not be mad. I wouldn't be. I would be pissed because we lost, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be as upset losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen deserves a Super Bowl. I mean, he's one guy that I wouldn't be upset losing to. So if I had to put money on it, I would put $10 on Eagles, Bills, and I would just let it ride.
For sure.
Um, two long shots I have. I wouldn't necessarily call them long shots, but two teams that I think are like sneaky that could like
Hmm.
if they play good enough defense, like the Commanders just so happen to wiggle their way in.
Yep.
Um, the Denver Broncos and the Chargers. If Justin Herbert can again get over the hump and just start throwing to his guys instead of the defense, I
Yeah, for
think
sure.
I think I think the Denver Broncos have the defense. It's just a matter of if Bo Nix can get it done. I think they're going to be a team that takes it back either day one or day two. That like a workhorse back that can finally
Hmm.
like take some pressure off, um, take some pressure off Bo Nix. But I love the Broncos. I have what yesterday I looked. The Broncos are at plus 3,500 and the Chargers at plus 2,800. So I mean
Okay.
they're down there a bit.
Yeah.
And then my long shot. I would love to see Ben Johnson take the Chicago Bears to the Super Bowl. They're at plus 4,500 right
Hmm.
now, or as of yesterday, they were at plus 4,500. Um, if Ben Johnson can figure out Caleb Williams, which I believe he will, and they can develop a defensive mindset of winning because I've just for some reason the Bears just have been like this mediocre team, but their talent is there. Like the talent's
Hmm.
there for the Bears. Um, I think the Bears could be a team, maybe not necessarily this year, but I would put $2 on them to win and win the Super Bowl and see what gets me. You know what I mean? Like I'd be willing to put big money on them,
Yeah.
but I think Ben Johnson's going to figure it out. I think Ben Johnson will. They're going to be a playoff team for a couple years to come for sure.
Well, yeah, the Bears are someone too that I talked about on a different one. They have the weapons on offense. They have
Mhm.
their defense is pretty solid. I really think their offensive line is the biggest issue with them because Caleb Williams, as a young guy, you want to protect your guy first of all. He's figures your franchise guy, but if
Right?
they can figure out the offensive line first and foremost and give your franchise guy some time to throw, then
Yes.
I mean they have what DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney's still there, I believe. I don't know if he
No,
left or not. No, no, not Darnell. I'm sorry, Roma Dunze. I have
Roman
Darnell
Rizzo,
Mooney
yeah.
with a
Who's
different one.
significantly better
Falcons.
than
Falcons.
Darnell?
Yeah, yeah. Roma Dunze, but
Mm-hmm.
they have weapons on that team that if they give him time to throw, that they can get open and he can be effective. Someone I didn't hear you say at all, which I'm high on them this year. I think you listed the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens as the front runners, but
Mm-hmm.
especially with getting T Higgins back, I really like the Bengals. If they can figure out that defense, their offense was one of the best.
Again, that's it. If they can figure out the
The
defense,
defense,
sure.
yeah,
If Joe Burrow is throwing for 6 touchdowns and 400 yards every game and they're losing, they're not going to go
yeah,
anywhere.
for sure, yeah, yeah,
If they
yeah. I,
can
I think they're.
go ahead,
You froze with me. Um,
my bad.
yeah, yeah, you're good. If they can figure out that defensive side of the ball, I
Mm-hmm.
think they're going to have to hit it heavy in the draft and use so they have some money to work with on cap space. They don't got a ton. I'm not sure. I think they're sitting right around the middle of the league. I don't think it's on the bottom half. I think it's right around the middle. I didn't look, so I'm not 100% sure. So don't quote me on that. But
Yeah,
if they can go out there and even get even one guy in free agency on the defensive line or something, and then hit the draft pretty hard,
See
I think they have a shot.
I agree. I agree to a certain extent. I don't understand why they're so adamant on keeping T. Higgins. Like, I'd much rather take that money and give it to Trey Hendrickson because your defense sucks. Give the money to the defensive guy. Go draft a wide receiver or sign another one in free agency. You don't have to spend. You don't have to franchise tag one of the better receivers in the league
Yeah,
when you have the best wide receiver in the league. Like, what's the
yeah.
point? Like, why not go draft a rookie guy that you like a lot to play the Y with Jamar Chase and another
Yeah.
wide receiver? Like, I don't understand why they're spending all this money on Higgins. Like, I understand Joe Burrow wants some and this and that, but like,
Mm,
look what happened when you listen to the quarterback. Look what happened to the Jets.
yeah,
Like, you
for
can't.
sure.
You got to do what's best for the team. You can't just do what's best for the offense. I think that money got it. You had to have gone to Trey Hendrickson, and then like you
Hmm.
said, you draft you hire Howie Roseman for a day. You draft a defense in one draft, and you win a championship. You know what I mean?
For
I
sure.
don't understand. They're so obsessed with signing Higgins. I just don't understand why. I mean, I get that he's good, but it's like they needed money on defense.
No, yeah, and I completely agree. I like T. Higgins, another
Mm-hmm.
Clemson guy. I actually have his
Yeah,
signed helmet right there. but
yeah, I love him. I love T
no,
Higgins.
yeah, I love him. But I mean, yeah, especially when you're the Bengals, you got to put your money where you need
Right.
the
Ex-
assets, and it's on defense because obviously your offense was the best, if not one of the best in the NFL last season, stats
exactly.
wise and everything else. But then you still didn't make the playoffs. So all right, and
Exactly.
that pretty much wraps us up with everything. That went through a lot of good stuff today. Deebo to the Commanders. We did a little game show today. Running back tiers, post combine, best bet segment. So as always, I do appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Brett, I do appreciate you joining the podcast today.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
If you have not already, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. Leave a comment. Comment what you think about the topics we talked about today. And as always, appreciate it. Have a good one.